general.
Sir Michael Ellis said the BBC's impartiality had been brought into disrepute over its coverage of the Israel and Hamas war. Joining us now is Jake Wallis-Simons, editor of the Jewish Chronicle. Thanks for joining us, as always, Jake. I mean, I've been watching the BBC News quite a lot ever since the Gaza conflict started back in October, and I utterly agree with him. It is hard not to draw any other conclusion than that the BBC is obsessed with the fate of Palestinians and Palestine and not really very interested in Israel's side of the argument.
Yes, I unfortunately would tend to agree. I mean, I wouldn't go to the extreme of saying that the BBC is out to be biased. I don't think any BBC journalist believes themselves to be biased or goes out to be unprofessional. But there is a cultural tendency, isn't there? Not just in the BBC, actually, but in a lot of the international broadcasters, that when they, for years and years, when they've been broadcasting the Israel-Palestine conflict, for a start, they give it way more attention than any other conflict in the world. And secondly, they seem very keen to place the Palestinians in the light of the victim and the Israelis in the light of the aggressors. And that's even the case on October the 7th, when Israel clearly was the victim of that atrocity and then responded to it. And Michael Ellis pointed out the case which has become notorious, of the bombing of the hospital, Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza, which was reported widely, including by the BBC, as being the result of an Israeli strike, but actually was found out to be the result of a misfired Islamic Jihad rocket. The BBC got it wrong. A lot of people got it wrong. In fact, pretty much all the media got it wrong. But the BBC has such a position of power that it called it first. Its reporters speculated on the ground that it must have been an Israeli strike. It looks like it must have been. It feels like it must have been. And a lot of the media followed that lead. So I think the BBC, because it's tied to an obligation to impartiality, when it fails at it, it has really grave consequences across the press and across the world's media as well.
Yeah. Now, going on to other matters of anti-Semitism, a rather remarkable story that a manager of an estate agent in Borehamwood has been suspended after celebrating the death of financier and philanthropist Lord Rothschild. Now, I understand that you know all about this story. She had posted, "The world is a better place with this Zionist dead. Just got to hope all the others follow." Well, she has now been suspended, with Chris Newell, the founder of the company, saying that I find the post offensive. It doesn't represent the views of the business that has been at the heart of the Jewish community. But those, I mean, it's not just offensive. That's a pretty extreme thing to post.
And let's name her. Her name is Amanda Hardy. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Well, I mean, you're right. I know about this story because it was broken by the Jewish Chronicle, the paper that I edit yesterday. So I know it in some detail. And yes, it's important to note that this estate agency, is in the heart of the Jewish community in Borehamwood. I had a reporter down there who knocked on all the doors and saw people made of it. There's a lot of Jewish people living there. And, you know, this statement celebrating the death of Lord Rothschild was absolutely appalling. I knew Lord Rothschild, not brilliantly well, but well enough for him to ring me up now and again. I've had lunch with him a few times. And he was such a sweet, lovely man and a wonderful, generous philanthropist who was obviously fabulously wealthy, but wore it with such humility and was such a supporter of charitable causes. He was a wonderful man. And to see people celebrating his death from inside the heart of the Jewish community, this woman was seemingly not an axe to grind, who'd swallowed this anti-Zionist stuff whole. It does feel like it's an example of everyday anti-Semitism that's erupted since October the 7th.
Yeah,
and, you know, it strikes...
Sorry to stop you, Jay. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. I think you're right. She's ignorantly jumping on some sort of bandwagon. It seems to have become cool to be anti-Semitic. I don't know why. But she has given us an excuse. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cause any offence. I didn't know what Zionist meant. I mean, that's... Either she's telling the truth and that's awful, or she's not telling the truth and that's awful.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if she didn't know what Zionist means, then, I mean, how does that... She said, the world is a better place with this Zionist dead, just got to hope all the others follow. So what, she didn't know who she was wishing death upon? Like, It's okay to wish death upon people who... I mean, what is she talking about? It's clearly a load of rubbish. Who knows what you know, she's
Great
scrabbling
story
through.
for the Jewish Chronicle, Jake. Well done, and always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Jake Wallis-Simons there, editor of the Jewish Chronicle.